to My LF Training. Cheryl Stockstill here, my wife. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
We are going to do I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for asking.
I was like, you're sitting next to me. I know how you're doing. Whatever.
We're going to do a survey review. We haven't done this in a while. We're going to start doing a lot more of them. If you're on our Facebook group, I really appreciate you guys. We haven't been able to do as much content, but we're going to start doing a lot more. If you're on our YouTube channel, thank you. Hit the like button. You can leave a comment. Cheryl, you want to talk about what we're doing coming up here soon?
Oh, we're going to be at the FALA convention this year, I think it's August 6th through the 8th, or it might be August 6th through the 9th, or 5th through the 9th, I'm sorry. But we'll be there the 6th and the 7th for the trade show. And this is the first year we can go, which is exciting because it usually falls on our son's birthday, so that's a no-go for us. And so this year it didn't fall on his birthday, but it's at the Universal Lowe's Sapphire Hotel, which is awesome, and you can bring your kids and go to the parks on your off time. But we'll stop by at our booth and say hi to us. Anyway, we're by the food, which is in the middle, which is a good location. So.
And Cheryl's going to give you some chocolates or something.
Hopefully, don't eat them all.
Okay, so basically, a survey review. We're going to go through and look at people's surveys, and we find deficiencies so we can all learn from them and make sure that we don't get cited for those same things. And sometimes you find weird things that they're looking for that you didn't know about. And we've learned, that's how we learned a lot. So we're just going to go through these. It's not going to be a long video. This is a couple of different facilities, citations, combined some things that we thought were interesting.
Well, just so you can have an idea of what they're looking for. And these are little mistakes that can be easily corrected. So it's something you can go and do an audit today. The first one was medication storage and disposal. What happened was the facility had a resident move out, and they gave the medication to the family upon discharge, but in their policies and procedures, it states that when they discharge a resident with medication, they have to get a signed statement that the family or guardian received the medication, and that's where they failed to do that. So they got cited for it. So make sure you're following what's in your policies and procedures. Otherwise, they can cross-reference that and you can get a ding, unfortunately. And you may want to go through your different files and contracts and take things out that aren't necessary that could be prevented, and that would help that.
But you do have to have a policy on disposal and discharge. But,
oh, sure.
But I think the way... So let me just read this really quick. So... basically, there was no evidence of resident number one's record that the facility provided the resident or the resident's responsible party the resident's medication upon discharge. So upon review of the facility's medication policies and procedures, it revealed that the facility policy was supposed to obtain documentation of medication that residents took with them upon discharge of the resident, which included a signed signature receipt of the resident's medication. So, the state says, hey, you gave this is your policy, you gave it to the residents upon admission, and you didn't follow your policy. So you definitely, if you have a discharge checklist, and you use that upon every discharge, this would have been prevented.
Right.
Obtain receipt. Now, you may not have it, or you might forget it. They took the medication and they left. You can't get the resident's family on the phone. Then you would probably make a note, something to the effect of saying that you discharged it on this date to this person. You forgot to get a signature, called the family member on this date, asked them to sign this. They have not returned my calls. So at least something like that might have prevented a citation, maybe. I'm not sure, but you need to document it. So you have a checklist for discharge, and it's going to cover like entering in the discharge log, everything that you need to do for a discharge. So the next citation they got was a class 3 citation, and
they tried to correct it before the surveyor left, but they didn't. So they'll probably be able to correct it and hopefully submit for a desk
the
review.
surveyor gave them like the day to find documentation, but they couldn't get documentation.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
yeah. I don't know if they let them call a family member, but they were looking in their records for it. Okay, next thing they got tagged for was assistance with self-administered medication, which is a very broad subject. But this one happens to do with the time the medications were distributed.
So it's a facility with 21 residents, and they had the medication scheduled at 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. When the surveyor arrived, they were still given medications at 9:30 and 10 a.m. and 10:45 a.m. So that's a violation because you can only give meds an hour before or an hour after their scheduled time. So they broke that time limit or time requirement, not limit. And so they got in trouble for that. When they were asked, they interviewed the administrator, and the administrator stated that they need additional staff working in the morning to help with the medications so that the third staff can focus on medications and care. So,
but I think that like sometimes you can't do that. So you probably should look at your MedPass times if you can. I mean,
maybe adjust them.
Yeah, because 8 o'clock is a really, really busy time in a facility. I mean, residents are getting up, food's being served, they're getting dressed, maybe they're getting showers. I mean, it's just a really busy time. So maybe if you can adjust the MedPass times, then that's great.
Spread them out a little bit.
Yeah, spread them out. So I mean, if you have 20 residents, maybe you can do something like that. Some people's medications have to be at a specific time, but maybe that's only like 3 medications instead of 20 residents times 10 medications. If it's not realistic, then you need to think about that, or like she said, bring in different staffing schedules. So basically that's that tag, right?
Mm-hmm.
And boy, that has to be stressful for that caregiver there, huh? I mean, you're doing all these other things and you're trying to distribute the medications 2 hours late.
And ACA's there.
So
yeah. Another thing they got tagged for was not signing the MOR after they gave the medication. And they had multiple omissions. And they also didn't indicate, when the surveyor looked at the MORs and found slashes on certain days and residents, they didn't indicate any. They didn't have an explanation written on the backside of the MOR explaining why there were slashes, which is completely fine if the medication's out. You just need to document it so that they know what's going on and somebody else knows what's going on. And they didn't sign for meds too, so they got, I think 1 through 5 residents had those issues that they sampled.
Those MORs were Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
They had holes in them and circles and slashes and no explanation. So. Right. She probably the surveyor opened one book and was like, whoa, what is all this? And then did a sampling, and it was like,
So a solution would be to do an audit every shift and help coach and correct your staff.
Or at least every day, yeah.
Well, at least every day, but if you can, I mean, we did those things.
Yeah, our manager would go through the books almost daily.
Yeah.
And well, when we had, to get a problem under control, you might have to be more intensive. Until you train up your staff, and then hone in on those staff who are making those errors, making notes or not making notes, or not following the proper protocol for documenting. So this facility got tagged for not documenting when medications were given, not making notes, not following prescribed times. A lot of issues there. And then... what else is this where the administrator
threw them under the bus?
The administrator said that she acknowledged the medication concerns, and the administrator stated that she usually audits the carts on Monday mornings, but had not done so the morning of the survey. Of course, that's how it works, right? Murphy's Law. And when asked what she does when she sees an error or an omission, the administrator stated that she makes the staff come in and initial provisions of the medication given. So she corrects it, but she didn't do it often enough. And
they need to do it more often just to correct the situation.
Yeah, and the staff should be trained up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. If you notice that problem, if she does it on Mondays or whenever she does it, then she needs to figure out which staff are making those mistakes.
Right.
And I mentioned this before in a previous video, but what we did before was we had a cheat sheet, and the cheat sheet was a step-by-step, like 8 or 10 steps, whatever the MedPass steps are. Number 1, get the medication from its secure location. Number 2, get a pen. Number 3, and each step had a picture and an explanation underneath it. I'm trying to find a copy of it. I have it somewhere, and if I can, I'll probably, put it on the Facebook group or someplace. But we trained our staff to follow the cheat sheet. It's in the back it's in everybody's MOR. I made a copy of it. It was full color and had a picture illustration of what you do. Watch the resident take the medication. Initial the book after each medication, each step of the way. And that way, if the state is there or if they forget, they can just calmly open up the book, open up the instruction sheet, and follow the instructions. Because we trained our staff a lot. We constantly did it, made them demonstrate to us that they could do it. But we had our survey, and a staff member who's really good at med passes, took the resident to her room, had the medication, gave the medication to the resident, one medication, before she watched her ticket, she said, "Oh my God, I forgot a pen." So she ran out of the room to go get a pen. The resident took it. She came back. She didn't observe the resident take the medication. We got cited. And that's not a fun thing to get tagged for, because they're going to have to come back and do another observation on your medication pass. But that could have been avoided, and that's what triggered us to put the cheat sheet in the records. So, okay, so next thing we got, let me just make sure we're still recording here. Next thing we got is staffing standards. So based on record review, the facility failed to ensure that newly hired staff submitted a statement from a healthcare provider based on examination conducted within the previous 6 months that the person does not have any signs or symptoms of communicable disease.
And all of the staff files that they audit were missing this, so it was a big oversight, and maybe they didn't realize they needed it. But a good solution was just maybe if we had a nurse practitioner that came in, and we would send all our staff to her before she got hired and scheduled as part of our pre-service orientation package, and that way we made sure we had those in the file. And then following a checklist for your employees is definitely helpful too.
There's definitely some things that you just can't mess around with, background screening, communicable disease, TB tests, whatever those are. I mean, most of the time, in fact, all the time, we paid for everything. Mm-hmm. We paid, just come on in. You have to be here at this time because I'm paying for it, and I'm going to get that form in your file before you even start work. And I think people get in trouble when they just say, you need to go to your doctor, or you need to go get a physical here or there. And the employee won't do it. Maybe they don't have the money, they forget, they're irresponsible, they show up for training, and all of a sudden you forget, you think you have everything, and all of a sudden you're going to get cited for that. So you definitely want to get that done beforehand, and paying for it is one way, and a checklist is another way. But you can't put yourself in a position where you absolutely have to have them start, and and then they don't have those things. So let's see. Another thing they didn't have was in-service staff training, reporting resident neglect. All of those things should be on the checklist. Now, if you have a MyLF training subscription account, we have a compliance tracking system now, and it'll help you avoid most of these things. It's just free, included with your subscription, and you enter an employee into your system, and it gives you all those default tasks, and it puts the courses in their account, and then you can monitor it, see what's overdue, and make sure that you stay in compliance. So it's to me, it's critical. If you don't have that system, if you're not using a system, you're bound to have citations because, human error. So another thing, let's see here. Whoops.
Emergency plan. They
didn't have the approval on file. So you want to make sure, of course, you all probably know that already. You have to have your emergency plan approval on file. ECC training. So this facility was ECC. And they, let's see, upon record review, the facility failed to ensure that all staff who provide direct care to residents in a facility with an ECC care license complete at least 2 hours of in-service training within 6 months of beginning employment that addresses ECC care concepts and requirements, statutory rule requirements, and delivery of personal care and supportive services in an ECC care facility. So the ECC manager can provide that training. The ECC manager needs the 4-hour training. We provide that on MyLF training.
Perfect.
So you'll have to have a certificate for that specific training signed by the administrator or the ECC manager,
Right.
in their records.
And if you need an audit, you can always call us, and we have somebody on staff that will go out and do an audit of your records and maybe save you a little bit of paperwork and heartache with ACA. Very reasonable priced, and maybe they can help give you some pointers too.
Yeah, it's an extra set of eyes, and it's cheaper than a fine.
Fines.
Yeah,
Yes.
and the fines escalate too. I mean, you go to 500, $1,000, like they escalate as your citations mount.
Well, it looks like that's it, and hopefully we'll see all of you guys that follow, get to meet some new people and see some old friends.
Can you do me a favor, you guys? If you like this video, if you have any suggestions, if you have any anything that you want to mention to us, please leave us a comment, like it, share it, something so we get some feedback.
Or email us.
Email us. We really appreciate it. We also would love to do interviews with any administrators. We're trying to create a lot more content for training. So I want to come and visit you at your facility if we can. So you're going to be hearing a lot more from us. If you're not in our Facebook group, go ahead and go to Facebook and search Florida ALF Administrators. You have to be a licensed administrator in a facility. You have to answer the questions. You have to put your phone number. It's a closed group. Thank you. Have a great, happy, safe 4th of July.
Yeah, have a good holiday weekend.
And we will
Or
talk to
week.
you all soon.